My name is Stefan Longebeke, and I am a second-year master's student at Clemson University. Today I'll be presenting my proposal for Glendale Shoals in South Carolina. To start, there's an existing trail that lines the old site of the mill that used to be in Glendale. Now, this mill was burnt down in 2004, and the remaining structures include two towers, an office, and a couple of smokestacks. Now, this is the master plan that I'm proposing for Glendale Shoals. Included in this are paved gen tiles that are along the existing trail in order to generate electricity through the pressure of footsteps. This will ultimately power Glendale. Now, along with this, I'm proposing that we take the old tower structures, reinforce them with space frame structure, and then turn them into windmills in order to generate even more electricity for the town of Glendale and the brewery. Now, the old office will be used as a canvas for the community. Public artists will be able to display their art, as well as allowing it to become a marquee or a billboard for Glendale Shoals. Now, in terms of flooding, there's a downward slope towards the water. And so along the trail, I will use permeable paving with porous gravel alongside in order to deplete any type of flooding that may occur. On this topic, along the shoals, I will be planting southern blue flag, which is a water absorbing perennial, in order to deplete any flooding that happens from the river. Along the trail, I'm also proposing that we introduce a co-forest plant community, introducing maple trees, flowering dogwoods, basswood trees, hydrangea, and great laurels, which are all local to the upstate of South Carolina. Now, in terms of the brewery, I'm proposing that we introduce a 12,000 square foot tap room, along with a 100,000 square foot production and distribution center. Now, since 2014, there has been a 12.9% rate of growth of breweries. Along with this, the U.S. beer market accounts for $114 billion in sales a year, 24% of which involves craft beer. In Spartanburg, there are currently 4 craft breweries, but the closest is 6.3 miles away, and none of them have the location that Glendale Shoals has. Now, as you can see, there are a lot of important connecting factors between trails and breweries. They build community, they build relationships, they promote events, and they create an experience. Now, in designing the 2 buildings on the site for the brewery, I thought it best that the tap room itself be connected to the trail, and so the trail actually cuts through the tap room. This allows for a unique experience for both trailers and those who are simply going to the brewery, and one reinforces the other and vice versa. Those who are in the brewery are now more prone to use the trail because of the access, and those who are finished walking along the trail are able to stop for a refreshing beer. In terms of the distribution center, the program breakdown is as follows. In blue, this is where the grain will be milled and eventually boiled. Now, in purple, after that boiling process, the brew will have to be chilled. When it's chilled, there is wort separation as well as fermentation. Now, in red, this is where the carbonation will take place and the maturation process. And then finally, in yellow, we have the distribution and bottling of the beer. And here's a more in-depth diagram of that brewing process. Glendale Shoals Brewing will be a microbrewery, and so unlike macro breweries, truck access will be very minimal, but it will happen. And so trucks will approach the building, they will simply back up when they are loaded, and then they will leave the site from where they came. Also included is a parking lot, and this parking lot will consist of grass pavers. And then on the roof of the distribution center, we will include photovoltaic panels in order to generate even more electricity. In terms of the tap room, in gray, this is where the main tap room is and where people can enjoy their drinks. Now in yellow, this is where the beer will be poured by the bartenders. In purple, we have a full kitchen with access to the outside. And then in blue, we have restrooms, and in red, we have employee lounge areas. Now, in terms of the courtyard, this is where events can be held. Space holds events in this area. Space is the Spartanburg Area Conservancy, and they already host a lot of their events on the Glendale site. So this allows them to have a formal area where they can host these events. Now, in terms of the section of the building, locally sourced wood and steel will be used. Glass will be used for a lot of natural light, and then red brick and concrete floor will be used. During the winter days, the sun will hit the concrete and the brick masonry units, and they will store this heat until nighttime where it's released. During the summer, the windows can be opened to naturally ventilate the building, and that air will be exited through the gap between the two roofs in order to deplete any chance of a wind tunnel happening in that area. Now, during the summer, the overhangs will block the sun from entering the building, ultimately reducing the heat. But in the winter, we want that heat to come into the buildings. And so this is possible. Now, the roof also allows rainwater to seep into gutters, which will take that rainwater and distribute it into 2 rainwater cisterns. Now, these rainwater cisterns will house this water, and then it will be reused as gray water. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed.